All right. Thank you for clicking on this video. This is my main video game channel, Scrapper. I'm trying to make a couple other channels for other things. One of them is going to be called Angry Bear. I've actually already created it. I just don't have the permission yet to live stream or post live stream videos. And I haven't figured out how to make OBS send things separate. It could be because I haven't gotten the permission yet to send the other one. Full disclaimer, I'm not a professional YouTuber or anything like that. I'm just starting out, just trying to figure things out. I've spent so many hours trying to just figure out how to use OBS Studios, how to post videos, how to edit, how to remove me from the back or my background and just have just me in the screen and all kinds of stuff. Mostly I started all this for gaming, and I plan on still making gaming videos. Scrapper channel is going to stay dedicated to the video gaming and things like that. Angry Bear is going to be more of a hopefully podcast and hopefully get people to call in and stuff like that, like friends, and have discussions with people and just have an open conversation. And I call it Angry Bear jokingly, of course, just trying to be funny, I guess. A little backstory to me: my name's Jerry. My mom used to call me Jer Bear a lot. She still does, of course, and I don't like other people calling me that. And so some of the guys at work and stuff like that would call me Jer Bear, and I get pretty upset about it. So one of my friends started calling me Angry Bear instead of Jer Bear. Yeah. Anyways, I'm going to have a couple different channels. I put the link to the description of the new channel, Angry Bear, in the description. I'm still learning how to do all that and everything, so please just bear with me. The main reason I do live streams, though, is personally, I think it's so much better to do something live where you can't edit things, you can't change things, you make mistakes, but everybody makes mistakes. And I'd rather make mistakes and people see it and see that I'm just a normal person. I have another channel that I'm created that's called Hemingway. It's actually Hemingway is my last name, but I named the channel He-Minway. He is in one, min is in many, and way is in co. And the reason I came up with that many, many years ago, decades ago, was my last name is so close to Hemingway, which is an author, Ernest Hemingway. And people were constantly misspelling my name and all this other crap. So to simplify it, it was actually an officer one time asking me for my name and stuff. I didn't have my ID on me. I can't remember the situation. I think somebody had stolen something or some crap, like stole a tire off a car or something, and I witnessed it. And the officer was asking me my information. So anyways, long story short, I kept trying to spell my friggin' name for him, and the guy kept screwing up writing down my name. So I said, it's like he is in one, min is in many, and way is in go, man. It's like Hemingway, not Hemingway. Anyways. Oh, God. I'm on a rant already. That's the other thing for the Angry Bear podcast is I do tend to go on rants a little bit. The Hemingway channel is going to be more... I'm going to try to focus more on staying calm and talking about philosophy and spirituality and things like that. I have a lot of things to say, and I like talking. Anybody that knows me knows that. Long story short, excuse me. Is this... Sorry. There we go. Yeah. Pretty sure we're streaming on the Scrapper account because I can't even get the the other one to take a stream yet. I apologize. Like I said, I'm human. Yeah, okay. It is on the Scrapper profile for now. I do hope to be able to try to stream on the other devices or the other accounts and stuff, but you got to get YouTube to give you permission and things like that. So, long story short, this video that I'm commentating on is what's called the Cardigan scale, the Kardashev scale or something. It's from a Russian astrologist or something, made a scale back in the 60s, I believe it was. And I've watched other videos on it. I've heard people talk about it. I personally have some problems with things they're saying. And so let's just get into the video. Enough of my jibber jabber. Please bear with me.
Imagine if we could control earthquakes. Researchers have detected strange radio signals coming from deep space.
That was strange.
These mysterious radio waves might just be bursts of cosmic energy from a distant neutron star. Or it could be that scientists have discovered a highly advanced civilization 90 light years away from Earth. So, what kind of civilization would have the ability to send strong signals like this? Well, scientists classify civilizations on something called the Kardashev scale. It's a scale that measures a civilization's technological ability to harness energy. While it's a hypothetical scale that could eventually have 5 or more levels, most scientists
keep that in mind,
only
hypothetical.
refer to the first few. But don't be underwhelmed. We're the only civilization we know of, and technically, we're still stuck on Type 0. At this stage, we've managed to harness some, but not all of our planet's potential energy. We consume about 18 trillion watts of power every year, and if we...
Okay, I'm going to stop the video right away and talk about just something really fast that they're going to be talking about in this video of their scales and everything. They're saying we're on Type 0. Okay. I have a problem with that. The reason I have a problem with that is if we can create electricity through nuclear electricity and other means of electricity that aren't from our planet, but we're actually creating electricity through means, yeah, I can understand burning coal, things like that is using our planet. Okay. I definitely agree with that. What I do not agree with is not realizing that nuclear power is harnessing the power from the universe. It's not anything to do with this planet, okay? The sun, it uses hydrogen and things like that to create electricity, but it literally is its own form of energy. And nuclear energy is harnessing the elements and the power of literally the universe, because those energy sources are everywhere throughout the universe. You know, nuclear power, radiation, things like that. That's literally part of nature. Okay, so yes, we may be on a lower scale when it comes to only harnessing the energy that our planet offers, like coal and things like that, but I fully disagree that we're at a Type 0. Okay, I personally think that these people think that they're smarter than they truly are, because honestly, a lot of things they're going to say, and that's where Angry Bear really comes out, is it pisses me off to hear people think that they're smarter than they are. Honestly, it does, because we are not Type 0. All right. My personal opinion on a civilization scale and harnessing energy, a Type 0 is not even knowing how to use fire. Okay, as soon as human beings were able to harness fire and make heat from fire and things like that, we're literally using the nature's nature's things, wind, water, fire. Those things actually exist in the whole freaking universe, not just on this dang planet. Okay, so these people that make these scales, they really should humble themselves a little bit and realize that these are actually elements. And if you can learn how to harness and use the elements, that has nothing to do with this dang planet. Okay, now, if you're taking wood from the ground and you're making fire from that wood, yes, you are harnessing that natural element from combustible material. But check it out. This planet has oxygen on it, and without the oxygen, you can't even burn the fire either. So, come on, guys. Same thing with using, the way that they make nuclear and stuff like that is harnessing, and they radiate, what's the word I'm looking for? Uranium, which is found on this planet. Okay, great. So are you telling me you need to go out to a meteor somewhere and find uranium there, and then you're harnessing it from the galaxy? Come on, people. You're literally using the elements that are in the entire universe, in this galaxy, in the next galaxy, and all the other freaking areas. So let's get off the high horse here, because there's a lot of things that they're going to say in here that I'm going to completely, because I've watched these videos before, and I'm telling you, it's a joke, this scale. It's a joke, in my opinion. Civilization is far more advanced than we give it credit for, but it's actually dumbing itself down. The way we were 100 years ago was a lot more civilized than we are now, in my personal opinion. So let's get in the video. I'm sorry, I went on a little rant. That's Angry Bear for you, okay?
We wanted to bump ourselves up to a Type 1 civilization? We'd need to consume over 500 times that every second. To do this, we'd need to harness, store, and utilize all of the energy available.
First of all, why do we need that much power? What are we, freaking consuming planets here? Why do we need that much power? What is it that we're powering? Electricity, all that stuff we're using it right now to run this camera, to run this computer, to run the internet, all this stuff. What do we need that much power for first? And here we are, a nuclear power plant. That's what that looks like to me. Could just be a power plant, but if you're using things that exist in nature, that's not just having to do with this planet. That's having to do with the entire universe. Because a lot of the elements that come from this planet aren't from this planet. I don't know if many of you study things. I've done research into things, and I've learned quite a few things, but there are certain elements on this planet that don't come from this planet. I believe gold does not come from this planet. This planet didn't make gold. There is literally things on this planet that come from stars out in the rest of the galaxy and universe that have exploded and shot those elements out, and they've ended up here. So the majority of all the elements that are here on this planet right now, they came from somewhere else. They didn't come from this planet. This planet didn't just magically appear and we're just using the things off this planet. We're literally using things on this planet that came here. Okay? That were part of the forming of this planet. So I'm sorry. I'm ranting. Let's play the video a little further than just a few seconds.
Available to us. That includes all raw materials and every bit of sunlight that reaches Earth. We'd also have to tame volcanoes, earthquakes, and other natural forces. At the rate at which we're developing now, it's possible that we could be a Type 1 civilization within the next 200 years. But whatever civilization scientists may have discovered in the far reaches of space could already be a Type 2 civilization, or higher. Once our civilization has all of the energy available on our home planet under control and we graduate to a Type 1...
Let's just go back to what he just said about controlling earthquakes. To my knowledge, earthquakes are produced from the tectonic plates of the planet shifting. So we think at some point civilization will be advanced enough to control the tectonic plates of the entire planet. Weather's produced, I mean, this is just coming from a person that doesn't even really have a college education, but to my knowledge, it's like cold fronts, warm fronts. You have colder air that's out on the ocean, warmer air that's on the land. They cross and stuff, and you get later in the afternoon, you get that cooler air coming in and the warmer air going out. Because I live on the coast. Tornadoes, things like that are from different air pressures. I'm sorry, people. You probably watch a little bit too much sci-fi and you're living in an imaginary world if you think you're going to control cold fronts and warm fronts and you're going to literally control the climate of the planet. Because I'm going to tell you something right now about the planet and the climate. And this is being actually very nice to these people's imaginary world. The climate on this planet is controlled by the sun. Okay? I'm going to give you an example. Without the sun, I asked a person recently, let me backtrack a second. I asked a person recently, what is the one thing on this planet that gives us life? And they said to me, water. And I said, not true. With water on this planet, great. Without the sun, all that water would be frozen ball of ice. So you need liquid water, even inside of our veins right now. If this water inside of our veins, if the human being is over 70% water, if that water is not liquid, you have frozen water. So water isn't all you need. Heat creates liquid water. Okay, heat will keep water from being frozen. It's a constant state of change. So the sun, it actually gives us the heat to warm up that frozen H2O. Then we have liquid water. Okay, well, that's great. But with just the sun, you don't have life on this planet, because without the magnetic field, the sun would destroy everything. The solar radiation, the heat, everything would just burn up all the vegetation, everything. So in order for us to be alive right now, we're in this perfect sphere of harmony where you have the heat from the sun keeping the planet from being ice. You have the solar winds and everything being held back by the magnetic field. The magnetic field's literally protecting us from that solar radiation. Our electricity and all the electricity we use right now is electromagnetic electricity. Something they don't even talk about in these scales, okay? We have a magnetic field, an electromagnetic field. So I say, if they really wanted to talk about this scale in an intelligent way, we would talk about harnessing the electromagnetic field of the Earth, not the tectonic plates and the weather, okay? Because first, if you try screwing with the weather, like all these people are trying to do right now by putting particles in the atmosphere, all that kind of stuff, well, guess what? This planet has gone through extinction level events. An ice age is an extinction level event. Our current civilization is living in a daydream. We're literally living in a science fiction novel where we think we'll be able to control the tectonic plates. I mean, he's going to talk about some things that are even going to be more unbelievable. I mean, we're talking unbelievable. Let's get into the video. I'm sorry, I get a little worked up when I hear people talk about things that just make no sense to me at all. And I'm talking common sense, from a common sense world. The tectonic plates, earthquakes are produced from tectonic plates sliding and shifting together. You have tectonic plates that are literally rolling over a magma inner core. The actual core itself is iron. It's spinning quite fast, and then you have magma around that. If you think you're going to be able to control volcanoes and the tectonic plates, I think reality has slipped your mind. Just like I've listened to some of these videos, they talk about if an asteroid or something comes that will be able to move the planet. We're going to get into that soon. Hold on now. And they even talk about moving Jupiter and stuff. I don't know if it's this video specifically, but talk about moving planets. Every one of these planets that are in this atmosphere, this solar system, they are stuck in the gravitational field of the sun. The sun. Okay, this big, huge ball of fire. It has gravity. And every one of these planets is stuck in the orbit of the sun based off of the sun's gravitational field. If you were to even move one of these celestial bodies, one of these planets, out of its current orbit, you just created a whole nother situation, because you're no longer in a gravitational field that you've been in since the beginning of its planet. To give you an idea, recently an asteroid, I believe, or it was a comet, went past Saturn, and Saturn's gravity shot it out. That's right. So when you screw with a gravitational field, you literally are taking the chances of screwing everything up. There are literally rogue planets that aren't even inside any sun's orbit, and they are not close enough to a sun to to give liquid water. Let's get into the video. My commentary, like I said, is Angry Bear. All right, because this is living in a daydream of a science fiction novel.
On the Kardashev.
By the way, these are people that actually teach physics classes and stuff, and teach at universities that teach this scale. Like I said, common sense isn't so common anymore.
Scale? Then we need to take the next step. Time to crank up our energy consumption to 10 billion times what it was before. To do this, we'd need to harness not just all the solar energy that reaches Earth, we'd need all of the energy our star generates, period. If there is a Type 2 civilization out there, they're probably using an incredible system to do this. A Dyson sphere. They'd build this megastructure around their star to collect all the energy it radiates out in every direction. They could even assemble other Dyson spheres around.
So, let's talk about a Dyson sphere really quick. So you're talking about building a superstructure that could surround a sun. So right now, let's look outside. Woof, look at all that sunlight right now. That sunlight right now is coming in here, and it's coming into the atmosphere for the entire planet right now, isn't it? And all the plants, like the trees, the grass, all the stuff that grows, it actually literally needs sunlight for photosynthesis. That's just common biology. So let's build a structure around that sun, blocking some of that sunlight. I'm sure it's not going to harm photosynthesis at all, right? I'm sure it's not going to harm anything. I mean, geez, when the moon goes in front of the sun, and we're not talking about being close to the sun, we're talking about being super, super far from the sun. When the moon goes in front of it, the temperature of the planet, literally, wherever the sun is blocked by that moon, you can literally, with a temperature gauge, a thermometer, see that the temperature drops. So let's build a superstructure around the sun. Let's block some of that sunlight, and I'm sure it won't affect the liquid water on the planet. It won't make it freeze. I'm sure it won't affect, because of course we're going to build some kind of a device that uses electricity, right, to warm the planet back up, since we're blocking the sunlight from the planet by building a structure around the sun. Come on, people. Are you serious right now? That's why we call this Angry Bear. We're talking common sense here, okay? The reason you don't have any light when you go inside of a room that has no windows and no doors is because the absence of light, okay? Darkness is constant. Darkness is always there. We base things off the speed of light, how fast light travels. Without light, you have darkness. That is just a constant. All right, so let's block the sun's rays. You know, when scientists have done studies from when meteors and things have hit the planet, or even the worst year in human history it's been recorded, I believe it was I want to say 565 AD or something. We don't know exactly what happened, but scientists are pretty sure that a major volcano in Iceland or something had erupted and sent up ash into the atmosphere, which blocked out sunlight for an entire year in the northern hemisphere, which created a mini ice age. Same thing when a meteor hits the planet, okay, and then it sends up all this dust and ash up into the atmosphere. It blocks out sunlight, and when the sunlight is blocked out, it creates ice ages, literally like makes the entire planet go cold because the sun is not heating it up. So let's build a superstructure in front of the sun and block that potential energy from creating photosynthesis, from keeping that water liquid instead of frozen. And let's just create more problems for ourselves because we think we're so super smart, right? So I say, by this scale, we're dumbing ourselves down because we're living in a science fiction novel. Just one of these little bars that go across the front of the sun. Mind you, it's very close to the sun. So when you have the moon, which is really far from the sun, close to this big, huge Earth, it literally blocks the sunlight. Now let's think of something that's really close to that sun and putting it in front of it, like it's ridiculous, honestly. I can't even fathom how people are teaching this in colleges and universities, and that people using the James Webb's telescope, which has costed taxpayers and people how much money to build, are literally looking for Dyson spheres. People ask me sometimes, or talk, just in general. I was doing a live stream just recently, playing Elden Ring, and someone said, "Oh, do you think that there's other life in the universe?" Hell yeah, 100%. I guarantee there is, because we've even found microscopic organisms that have survived entering our atmosphere on meteors and stuff. So intelligent life, Well, that all depends on what you consider to be intelligence, because this, talking about a Dyson sphere and talking about moving tectonic plates and controlling things like this is not intelligence. This is science fiction. It's not common sense. It actually, in my personal opinion, is stupid. You can't block the sun's rays without putting the planet into a damn ice age, and without making all the plants and everything else die because they don't have the sun to create photosynthesis. Okay? That's just simple high school biology. Come on, professors. Think for yourselves for 1 second.
On the first Dyson sphere to guarantee that little to no energy escapes. But there's nothing simple about this technology, and that's why only advanced civilizations could construct something like it. For one,
they just literally said so that none of the sun's energy can escape. Frozen ball of ice, you don't have any energy coming to the planet. Moronic.
A Dyson sphere must be larger than the star itself. And if these megastructures are bigger than stars, well,
So you don't think any of that giant band is preventing sunlight from reaching the planet? You don't think any of that giant band is preventing the other planets from getting sunlight and stuff? I mean, the other planets don't need it like we do. God. And what do you think that giant structure will do to the gravity, too, of the situation? See, when you build something that big, won't it create its own gravitational field as well? Because we understand that gravity from larger objects pull on smaller objects. So, yeah. We're only 3 minutes into a 58-minute video. This is not going very fast because it makes no sense to me.
should be easy to spot,
Hey, I
right?
didn't go to college and graduate.
Well, this
I
could
I
be
went to
tricky.
college, but I
Once
didn't
a
graduate
civilization
in
is
physics.
finished building the Dyson sphere, the megastructure blocks nearly all of the visible light from its star. A civilization this advanced could make its own solar system invisible. Lucky for us, visible light isn't the only way to detect a star. Even with a Dyson sphere blocking its light, a star would still radiate heat, and we could detect the star by the infrared light it gives off.
They just talked
But
about blocking
that wouldn't be the
light.
only way we might discover a civilization this
We don't
advanced.
need light from the sun.
Remember that strange radio signal?
Perpetual
It
night is
originated
really
about
nice.
90 light years away from Earth, coming from the star
I'm sure if it was
HD
dark all the time, with the
164595.
trees and
Was this
the grass
powerful
and everything
radio
wouldn't
signal
care.
created by an alien race and intentionally pointed toward Earth? A civilization able to pull this off would need to be far more advanced than our own. This Type 2 civilization would be able to utilize the raw materials on every planet in its star system, and maybe even beyond. They may have built fusion reactors that orbit their planet, fueled with gas from other worlds with hydrogen-rich atmospheres. And they might be mining precious metals from rocky planets, just like Earth. They could terraform other planets into livable worlds for their populations, and they wouldn't live in fear of civilization.
terraforming. So, Mars and Venus, they don't have a magnetic field like ours. As a matter of fact, our magnetic field on this planet is about as big and strong as Saturn's, which is much larger of a planet than ours. Venus and Mars don't have a magnetic field. And if it is, it's so small. Yeah. So, with that being said, terraforming. How can you terraform a planet that doesn't have an atmosphere. Okay, well, you create its atmosphere. All right, well, without the magnetic field, the solar radiation, the solar winds would blow the atmosphere right off of it. You have to have a magnetic field like ours to protect the atmosphere. Without this magnetic field, the solar winds would bombard the planet and would rip the oxygen and all the carbon and everything else right off the planet's surface. So you're not going to terraform Mars. You're not going to terraform Venus without a magnetic field. I'm sorry. Now, it is potential that you could create a magnetic field through getting the ball of iron spinning again really fast or something, but that's also living in a hypothetical world that you could get the magnetic field working on that planet. Now remember, we're talking about a species of beings here on Earth that talk about going into space and terraforming other planets and building colonies on Mars. We don't even have a single colony under our ocean. We know more about other planets than we know about our own friggin' ocean, because it's easy to sit there with the telescope and stuff and watch and see those other planets. But going into the depths of our ocean, you can't look at with a magnifying or telescope. You actually have to explore it. You actually have to build something to go down in there and stuff. I'll talk about that a little bit more really quick. Building underground and building under the ocean, in my personal opinion, are the smartest ways to continue human civilization's existence, because we understand that there's been extinction level events multiple times throughout this planet's history that wiped out the dinosaurs, that wiped out Neanderthals, that did all kinds of crazy things on this planet. And part of that is because something happened that blocked out the sun's light. Let's build a Dyson sphere and block all the sunlight out. Well, let's create a ice age that can wipe out entire species without having the liquid water that we need to sustain life. Luckily for us, we know that there are planets or even moons that have liquid water underneath ice, such as, I believe it's Europa, one of the moons of Saturn, I believe it is, that we are pretty sure has liquid water underneath ice because it's close enough to the core and stuff that it stays liquid. And it's also probably being protected by that thick ice sheet. Now, in the history of this planet, if it goes through an ice age, I'll tell you something right now. The ocean isn't going to completely freeze over. The outer surface of the ocean may freeze over, yeah, and that's if it stops moving around. I mean, the ocean's constantly moving and stuff. You know, look at the Bering Straits. Look at anywhere around this planet, Antarctic and other places that have ice covering the water. At the bottom is not frozen. It's just not. So if our planet was hit by a giant meteor and it sent dust and ash up into the sky that blocked out sunlight for 10 years or something, anything on the surface of the planet is screwed. It's literally screwed. You're going to get put into ice age. It's going to wipe out all the plants and vegetation. And you're not going to have anything to eat and stuff. But if you go down deep into the ocean, you're not going to have dirty air. You can literally get oxygen from the ocean. You can get fresh water from the ocean. You can literally make it. That's what they do in submarines. Submarines go under the water. They take oxygen from the salt water and make it. They take fresh water from the salt water and make it. It's not complicated. They literally use nuclear energy to do that. The same nuclear energy that's coming from the universe's elements. Not from the planet's elements, but from the universe's elements. Okay. Then there's a ton of food down there too. Think of all the vegetation and think about the animals and stuff like that. Think of the stuff that you can eat. And if you have your own little, your little electric, you can grow your own plants and stuff, right? People grow weed and stuff, and people grow vegetables and stuff underground using UV light and things like that. Yeah, great. We could also do the same thing underground. How many underground cities do you know of? Yeah, we talk about colonizing Mars or building colonies on the moon. What about building a colony underground next to a... Okay, here's another thing. We have found underneath the ground that we stand on now, there are literally oceans of water underground, not just on the surface of the planet. So you can literally build underground a super city, a civilization. That would guarantee the existence of human civilization, regardless of climate change or anything else. I'm talking about climate change. I just said this a little bit ago. The sun creates the climate. The sun, not human beings. When the sun gets super hot, the planet gets hot. If the sun was to cool down, the planet would get cool. And if we built a superstructure over the sun, the planet would definitely get cool. Duh. Common sense isn't so common anymore, is it? You need a dang college of common sense. Because the people that are these scientists and all these astrologers and physicists and stuff, they are not using common sense. It's almost moronic to talk about the levels of civilization without talking about the actual levels of civilization. And I'm going to be very clear about this. The very first level of a civilization, in my opinion, is when you go from being hunter-gatherer tribes to getting agriculture and being able to produce your own food and have crops and farms and stuff. Because before humans had farming and agriculture, we didn't have any mega cities and we didn't have cities. That's the first level of civilization, where you go from, and honestly, you are still civilized people. You are still people when you're living in tribes and stuff. Tribal, that's a civilization of tribes. So even as hunter-gatherers, that is a civilization. They're just a bunch of multiple tribes and all spread out and all that stuff. So that's still civilization. When humans would gather together in a tribe, that's still the first level of civilization. Okay, second level is when agriculture started and humans started gathering in large groups and building cities and stuff like that. And that's when you started using trade and things like that. That's when you started, in any civilization that has trade and all that good stuff, you have boats and things. That's because we use, most major cities are on oceans or large bodies of water where it's easier to use a ship to transport goods and to do trade and all that stuff. Okay, because it's hard and it's more time consuming to travel over land with camels or semi-trucks and all that kind of stuff. But there are still plenty of civilizations that are far from water. I think human beings try to be smarter than they are. And that is an Angry Bear commentary. We're only 5 minutes into this video and I'm already 45 minutes almost into my video. Let's just get into this a little bit.
Ending natural disasters like asteroid impacts, ice ages, or global warming, because they'd have technical solutions for these too. This alien civilization would be at the stage on the Kardashev scale where they'd be able to master interstellar travel. But if that's true, there should be no reason for them not to pop by for a visit, right? Well, not so fast. With all the advanced technology they might have at their disposal, these aliens could be waiting for us to catch up. That way, when our civilizations meet, we would do so as equal partners. Who knows? They could be so advanced that they're no longer a fully biological race. They could be more like cyborgs with a mix of robotic and organic material.
Okay, so based off of these guys' civilization skills, it's all about using energy and technology. Where have they spoken about in civilization being a spiritual race of beings? So me personally, if I was an advanced species, if I used intelligence, I wouldn't be just looking at technology and machines and stuff as the answer to everything, because you can still be a corrupted people without morals, without spirituality. I mean, for God's sakes, we are a race of beings, a civilization of beings that still debate whether or not the spirit is real, whether the spirit exists. When you can literally weigh the spirit, you can put a person's body as they're dying onto a scale. And when they die, their body weighs less. It literally has been proven scientifically. The body can weigh less after it dies, after they decease. Think about that for a minute. When people die, they defecate themselves, they urinate themselves, but that urine and that defecation is still sitting on that scale because the body's still on the scale, and yet that body weighs ounces less. What is it that happened? What weighs less? What happened to that thing? That thing that weighs something. It left the body. That's right. You can scientifically prove that something changes. See, our bodies have electrical impulses in it. There's electricity inside of our body, more than even your own home and everything, powering everything around me. There's more electricity inside this body. And a lot of scientists will say that's because the cells in your body, the cells are dividing, the cells are doing this, the cells are creating that electricity. Instead of thinking that those cells are using the electricity that is being provided to the body, because the body has a soul inside of it, because the body literally has this electrical current inside of it that's not being provided, that's not being produced by the body. That electrical current is part of the universe. That electrical current is literally something that will never be destroyed. You see, there's one constant in the universe. That constant is change. Literally, there is only one constant in the universe. It's change. Things are in a state of change, from planets to suns to everything else. Stars can, if they're big enough, can become black holes, and they live, they die, they become friggin' red, I think it's red dwarfs, and there'd be blue giants, and there's all kinds of things that just a star can go through. A star, by the way, our sun is a star. It's amazing, right? All those little tiny dots you see in the sky at nighttime. Only a very, very tiny bit of them are not suns. So there will be a few you look up tonight, you'll see, and those are actually like Venus, Mars, Jupiter. Those planets you see in the sky and you call them stars, but they're just planets. And there's only as many that can fit on these two hands that are up in that sky. That's right. rest of them are all suns. Now, if you take and you build a superstructure around that sun, you're blocking its light. You're not just blocking the light from us to see with the James Webb's telescope and stuff. You're blocking it from all the plants and all the life on that planet from receiving sunlight. Mind blown. I'm going to go fill up my coffee and let this play out a little bit because I just keep getting a little frustrated by the stupidity in this scale and this imagination that we'll build superstructures around stars someday. Now I can see going into another solar system and building a superstructure around a star that is not our own, okay, where it doesn't affect any of the life on the planet that you're living on, and then put that planet into an ice age and stuff. Yeah, because without our sun, we're literally a ball of ice. Doesn't take a rocket science to figure that out. And yet we have physicists and we have astrologists and we have literally college professors trying to teach this scale. But hey, you sure there's any other intelligent life in the universe? Because we're really intelligent.
This would make them capable of incredible things that humans could only dream of. But they wouldn't stop there. An advanced world like this would want to go farther up the Kardashev scale, and as they became a Type 3 civilization, they'd rely on something other than the power of their own star system. They would harness the power of several stars in their galaxy. With this much power, a civilization would have no problem meeting its ever-growing energy needs. They'd just hook up another star when they needed more power. If we ever advanced to this level, we'd have 100 billion stars available to harness in the Milky Way galaxy alone. A civilization like this would no doubt be the rulers of their galaxy, and they'd have the power to move entire star systems, merging them to harvest the energy they need more efficiently. So if one of these civilizations existed, well, you could detect them by observing the sudden disappearance of many stars in a faraway galaxy. This could be a sign that Dyson spheres have been constructed around not just one, but several stars. A Type 3 civilization could already be out there. After all, scientists have announced that they've found 2 galaxies with a highly unusual amount of infrared light. This is something we usually observe in galaxies where new stars are being born, but some unusual and sudden spikes in infrared light could mean that we've found the first signs that civilizations many times more advanced than us exist. Maybe. Imagine having the ability to live forever, travel anywhere in the universe, and harness enough power to create wormholes. Well, if you're part of the ultra-exclusive Type 3 Civilization Club, these are just some of the everyday luxuries available. So, how could feeble Earthlings get...
Okay. Now, I am going to say this. I do believe that it may be possible to create wormholes or even intertravel or interspace travel, not by the speed of light, because the speed of light's too slow. You'd have to warp space and time for that. But with all that being said, I'm just gonna be honest. There's a lot of people that watch a lot of science fiction making these assumptions. You see, if you're an advanced enough civilization, I don't think that you're even living in a third dimension any longer. The fourth dimension then becomes apparent. And in a trans-dimensional reality, you don't need to travel the speed of light. It's almost like warping, I guess. It would be impossible to travel like in a car type mentality between one galaxy to another galaxy. The galaxies are far too far away. Okay, so you're only talking about traveling within one galaxy itself, not from one galaxy to another, without being able to warp or something. That's just a given. There is no possible way to be able to do it. The galaxies are too far apart. They're just way too far apart. So I apologize. I don't think I'm going to be able to make it through this entire video, honestly, because we're already almost an hour into it, and the stupidity level is at a level 5. I personally believe, based off the Hemingway scale, my personal scale, civilization has already been reached to probably the second level, maybe the third. The first level, I would say, is where we went from being just nomadic people to living together in tribes and living together in groups. Just not just a family, because the family unit, that would be, as nomadic people. We're just each individual family, and then a family trades a daughter to another family for goats or this or that or whatever else. But then once you started being in tribes, where tribes you had couple hundreds of people or whatever else, that's the first level of a civilization. You can still be hunter-gatherers and all that stuff, but work as a community, as families, groups of families together. The next level of civilization, I would say, is where you took large groups and bring them all together, and that's only possible through agriculture, because it's not sustainable through hunting and gathering. It would not be possible to have a large city in a large area. To give you an example, without agriculture and without transportation, Los Angeles only has enough food in its area for 2 weeks. If we were put into an ice age, or we were put into a civilization, or a disaster where you didn't have ships coming in with goods, you didn't have trains. For example, let's just talk about an ice age. Okay? Let's build a superstructure that blocks the sunlight from hitting the planet. We're super smart. As literally the planet then freezes and you're not able to use ships and stuff. Oh, we'll just fly around. What? Why not just build hydrogen power plants? Why not just build nuclear power plants? Why not just harness the electromagnetic field of the planet instead of building superstructures around suns? I digressed. The next level of civilization is kind of where we are now, almost like the fourth level, but it's also a level where we start falling back. It's a level where we now have our cities, we have our agriculture, we have technology and all that stuff, and now we have social media, the internet, and things like that to link us together as one planet through information. But that's also a very dangerous place for civilization to be in, because then you have groups that can use disinformation and technology on a global scale to lie to you and to gaslight you and to control you, instead of you being able to think for yourself, and instead of you being able to use common sense to realize blocking out the sun's rays would be really, really bad for everything on the planet. That should be common sense. Everybody should realize that. And this whole scale is just trash at that point. I mean, I'm being honest. I'm not trying to be mean. That's just honesty. We're at the level of civilization where we are in a very dangerous place, because it shouldn't be, I'm saying this very nicely, it shouldn't be that difficult to have morals. I mean this. To understand the difference between right and wrong. And I don't mean what's right for you is right for you, what's wrong for you is wrong for you. No, 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 no. There is literally a universal morality of what's right and what's wrong. There is no place in the universe where I would say that rape is okay. That putting a person into slavery, whether that's child sex trafficking or any of those types of things, is okay. Matter of fact, for those crimes of murder, and I say murder as a deliberate act of killing somebody, not self-defense, not anything but just malicious murder, penalty should be death. It should be death. It's just my opinion. And I say the same thing for abducting a child and putting them into sex trafficking and stuff like that. That should be death. Because here's the deal. Any person you've ever met that's been molested or raped, they relive it. They literally are living in a hell in their mind. Their past, they can't get away from it. That is with them the rest of their life. You may not understand if it's never happened to you, but those people go through suicide, they go through depression, they go through a really, really hard life afterwards. And some of them wish to be dead. You literally just took all the happiness from them and everything else, and it's terrible. Especially to a child. We're talking about not just sex trafficking, not just human trafficking. You're talking about kidnapping, rape, slavery, false imprisonment, and then you have sex trafficking too. Every one of those should be a felony. And if you have multiple felonies beyond, I'd say, and I'm talking in the same crime. In the same crime, if you have at least 3 of those or something, there should be death sentence. Just, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to hurt anybody's opinions or feelings, but we're talking about a civilization of people that are advanced enough to where other civilizations that are technologically advanced or whatever, alien races, would want to even have anything to do with us. If they were to come to this planet and see us fighting over stupid things and us arguing over whether or not prisoners have rights. And I don't mean every prisoner. Think of it this way, okay? You literally have people in prison right now who kill child molesters. That's right. There's people in prison right now that have a higher sense of morals. We're talking about people that are in there for murder. Have a higher sense of morals than people that are walking around in the streets. People that are making laws. People that are voting, for God's sakes. You have prisoners with higher moral values that understand it is wrong to do certain things. You know, I I myself have had to deal with, in my childhood. I did have a situation that I had no control of, that I've had to live with the rest of my life. And that's my personal battle. It's my personal thing. And it's for me to understand it, and for me to have worked through it, and for me to have grown into the man I am today. And I will never think it's okay to do that to a child. There is a violence inside of me that will never think it's okay. And there are literally people sitting in prisons right now that have the exact same feeling, and they might not have even been molested as children. They just understand. And yet we want to talk about us being intelligent. We are so intelligent, we'll build superstructures around suns. We'll try to move tectonic plates, and we'll try to prevent earthquakes and stuff. God dang, people. Literally. You don't have pleasure without pain. You don't have happiness without sadness. You don't have hot without cold. You don't have light without darkness. You cannot control everything. No matter how advanced you think you may be in the future, you'll never be able to control some things, like earthquakes. Grow up and actually use your brain and common sense. I'm going to end this video because Angry Bear is getting angry, and I want to try to keep my videos down below an hour unless I'm streaming for gaming. I just can't believe that there's people running around on this planet right now debating whether or not there's intelligent life when they clearly don't use the intelligence that's been given to them. I mean, it is not rocket science to understand that if you block the rays of the sun by building a structure in front of it, that you're preventing that light from coming to the planet. For all the photosynthesis and all the stuff that's going on right now out there with all that plantation, with all the peach trees, apple trees, fig trees, fern trees, redwood trees. For God's sakes, think of all the trees. And think about, you already hear people talk about, I'm in depression, I have a lack of vitamin D because I didn't get enough sunlight, because that's where I live at, that you get overcast from the fog. And you hear people talk about, oh, I'm depressed, not getting enough sunlight, lack of vitamin D. Oh, well, by all means, let's build a superstructure in front of the sun and block out that rays of sunshine. Prevent the heat from coming to the planet. Oh, no, there'll still be heat. What? Then why is it when the moon goes in front of the sun during an eclipse, does the temperature on the planet drop a little bit? Because direct sunlight, just like also, if you go sit in the shade under a tree, it's cooler than if you're out in the direct sunlight. Doesn't take a rocket scientist to fucking figure that out. Excuse my language. But let's actually use what's been given to us. A brain. Common sense ain't so common no more. Worrying about the rights of a person that took everything from another person, their happiness, their entire life, and imprisoned them in a cage, chained them up in a basement somewhere. I say the next level of civilization for humanity is when we stop debating simple, common moral values, and we as a species, an entire planet, or even just a country and civilization, look at Muslims. Look at other groups of people that have rules and moral values. You think they're confused about things like that? No, I'm not. I just use Muslims as an example. There are many other examples of morality and those things come from God. They don't come from just humans being so smart and being so enlightened. The channel Hemingway actually should be more dedicated to this stuff than Angry Bear. Angry Bear is just angry about how stupid people have become. Once again, thank you for clicking on this video. It is just my opinion, and I'm just as entitled to my opinion as the next person, just as much as you, just as much as anybody else watching this video. I'm not forcing anybody into my opinion. I'm not forcing anybody to believe anything I believe. That is up to each individual to choose for themselves. But just the same as you don't have the right to force anybody to do something they don't want to do. Whether that's a sexual act or whether that's using someone's pronouns or something like that. I've said it. I said it. I'm not forcing anybody to call me anything specific. You do you, I'll do me. Have a good day, and thank you once again.